Mega projects that are meant to define a country's vision can often wind up being expensive failures, wasting not just the money of taxpayers but also resources and energy. Take, for example, that the United States spent a staggering $17 billion on a mega project that was never used and is now entirely useless. Or that there's a capital city that was designed for millions of people but remains nearly empty. These are only two instances of the most useless megaprojects in the world, both of which have been a complete failure, have racked up enormous cost, and have never even come close to accomplishing their original goals. Today's video will feature some of the most useless megaprojects in the world that cost billions of dollars yet ended up never being used or having much success. Interstate H3, Hawaii. The Interstate H3 was a $1.3 billion project that opened in December 1997 and is considered one of the most wasteful megaprojects in the world due to its limited usefulness. The 26-kilometer long Interstate H3 in the Aloha state of Hawaii runs through one of the world's most magnificent landscapes, showcasing the beauty of Hawaii with its sheer cliffs, lush tropical forest, and waterfalls. The H3 is a great reminder of why Hawaii is often referred to as paradise. It is so breathtaking that there were actual fears of people stopping and causing traffic jams. But beauty aside, the highway, which is also known as one of the most expensive highways ever built in terms of cost per kilometer, was actually built for defense reasons, to connect the military base at Pearl Harbor to Kaneohe Marine Corps Air Station. And its purpose was to provide military personnel with an easy route from one place to another. Today, however, the defense reasons are no longer relevant, and the stunning highway does little to benefit from its construction, as it does not have a direct route to downtown Honolulu, which serves as the state capital and main entry point to the Hawaiian Islands from the continental United States. Thus, some people say it is a road that leads to nowhere. Also, the majority of native Hawaiians to this day continue to reject the usage of the H3, which they believe is evil because the construction of the highway destroyed many cultural places that have great religious or spiritual meaning to them. As a result, not only does the H3 not provide any practical benefit in terms of transportation for its citizens, but it also carries with it an immense amount of cultural and spiritual baggage that contributes to the ongoing resentment of native Hawaiians. When it comes to mega projects, the completion of the Interstate H3 highway was undeniably a success. However, the beauty of the H3 highway and its purpose are now more aesthetic than functional. Naypyidaw, Myanmar. Similarly, the building of Naypyidaw City in Myanmar was another grandiose infrastructure project that has largely failed to benefit the local population. Naypyidaw was built to be the country's new capital in 2005 at a cost of $4.7 billion and a vast expanse of 7,054 kilometers squared, nearly 10 times the size of Singapore. Naypyidaw means the king's residence in Burmese. It wasn't clear why this sudden change in the capital had happened. Some thought the military leadership moved because they were afraid of an attack from the sea, while others thought it was because astrologers told them to. But a lot of it had to do with Yangon, the city that used to be the capital. There are 7 million people living there, and the city is said to have reached its infrastructure limits. So, to better manage the burgeoning population and economy, the Burmese government decided to move the capital from Yangon to Naypyidaw in 2006. It would appear that the city has everything a resident could want to enjoy their life there, including a 20-lane highway, over 100 luxury hotels spread across 3 hotel districts, golf courses, museums, and even a 99-meter-tall replica of a landmark that was originally located in Yangon. But unfortunately, today the city remains largely empty, with reports indicating that fewer than 1 million people are living in the area, despite its capacity to accommodate around 5 million, earning its nickname the Ghost Town. The majority of the population is hesitant to make the city their permanent home because there's still a severe shortage of healthcare services, a high cost of living, inadequate educational establishments, and limited employment prospects. Despite its impressive infrastructure and modern facilities, the Burmese government's move to Naypyidaw has been largely unsuccessful. But all is not lost. There is still potential for the city to become the bustling metropolis that the government envisioned, and the Burmese government is taking steps to address the issues mentioned above in order to make Naypyidaw a vibrant and thriving city. The Burmese government has recently implemented policies to improve healthcare access and reduce the cost of living, and hopefully soon this project will be erased from the list of the most useless megaprojects in the world. Only time will tell. Ciudad Real Central Airport, Spain. Another wasteful megaproject has to be the Ciudad Real Central Airport in Spain. Built at a staggering cost of $1.3 billion, the airport has been empty since its opening in 2009 and has become an example of how not to use public money. The Ciudad Real Central Airport was built with high hopes of relieving the strain on Madrid's major airport and providing greater efficiency for travelers to and from Spain. However, these ambitions were ultimately unfulfilled due to the location of the airport, which is too far away from Madrid and the surrounding regions to make it an attractive option for most travelers. The newly constructed airport therefore only serves a single low-volume airline through its first year of operation after it initially opened its doors to the public. With no large airlines to compete for customers' attention, the airport had amassed a debt of $350 million by the year 2012. And unsurprisingly, the company behind the project filed for bankruptcy just 3 years later in 2013, after its operations had begun. Despite the high hopes, the airport was reduced to just serving as a famous abandoned destination to visit, thanks to the popular television show Top Gear in the United Kingdom in 2014, until it was finally sold to new owners in 2019. During the COVID-19 pandemic, businesses were collapsing and profits were falling, but the Ciudad Real airport was given a chance to save itself. The new owners of the airport, seeing that there was little chance that passengers would return, reimagined the airport as a home for grounded planes due to its arid climate, lengthy runway, and spaciousness. The airport was able to create a much-needed new commercial opportunity because of this innovative storage method. But once the pandemic was declared over, all of the planes that were put into storage were ultimately removed, and the airport returned to its original state of being a white elephant with hardly any operational flights. Forest City, Malaysia. Envisioned as a green smart city that is built on 4 artificial islands and developed around an artificial forest ecosystem, Forest City in Malaysia is a shining example of the potential of green technology and smart urban planning. Its location makes it an appealing bet for investors looking to capitalize on its proximity to Singapore, which is home of the world's second busiest port, as well as a booming economy. The developers have already connected Forest City and Singapore via the second link bridge, reducing the distance between the cities to just 20 minutes. It will also have buildings with green rooftops and vertical gardens, creating a jungle-like environment. City streets will be designed in layers, with the lower layer dedicated to traffic and parking. The upper layers will include parks, sports facilities, and transportation hubs. The city is expected to be completely operational by 2035 for $100 billion and will run exclusively on renewable energy. One of the 4 islands that have been suggested is almost finished being developed and will have 50 apartment structures, golf courses, swimming pools, and beaches on it. Sounds incredible, doesn't it? We're sure some of you are questioning why this project is on the list of pointless megaprojects. Here is where the problem lies. The majority of the funding for the initiative was coming from wealthy Chinese investors who couldn't afford the skyrocketing rates of apartments in their home country. Hence, China accounted for 80% of all property owners, and so even the street signs were in Mandarin. The few schools that had just opened in the area were providing instructions in Mandarin, leaving many of the locals feeling a sense of exclusion and isolation. That's not all. Because property prices were established solely with the Chinese market in mind, native Malaysians did not have the financial means necessary to purchase these apartments, thus resulting in a public outcry labeling the project as a new kind of colonialism. So, following a change in government, the newly elected Prime Minister, Mahathir Mohamad, instituted a policy that prevented non-Malaysians from purchasing property in the Forest City. Several foreigners began to leave the city, discouraging fresh investors. The pandemic and the worldwide travel bans were the next significant setbacks. And by the beginning of 2020, less than 500 people were actually living there, which is a small number given that Forest City is meant for 700,000 people. Nobody knows what will happen to this absurdly beautiful infrastructure in the future, but for the time being, it's safe to infer that Forest City is a pointless megaproject for now. Yucca Mountain, Nevada. Yucca Mountain in Nevada was chosen as the top option to store radioactive waste in 1987. The location was perfect. It was close to the US's most used nuclear testing site and far from any cities. The proposed plan was that all of the country's nuclear waste would be deposited in a tube complex that would be located around 300 meters below Yucca Mountain. If not contained properly, nuclear waste has the potential to be more lethal than anything seen since the dawn of civilization. In addition to its remote position, Yucca Mountain is built of volcanic ash that accumulated millions of years ago, allowing it to absorb nuclear waste without breaking or cracking. So, Yucca seemed like an ideal place for a repository. However, Nevada's inhabitants were, predictably, unhappy with the plan. The idea that the area would be the only place in the country to store nuclear waste was strongly opposed by both Congress and the general public. Furthermore, protesters said that the site was unsuitable for a repository because it could contaminate a neighboring water supply used by Native Americans who had lived in the area for centuries. Even though people were against it, the project was approved in 2002, and the Department of Energy started building again. But protests kept growing stronger, and in 2010, the Obama administration declared the project unfeasible and stopped funding it. 3 years later, a federal judge authorized its resumption. However, there has been no movement since the Biden administration said clearly that Yucca Mountain is no longer on the country's agenda. This judgment was viewed as a win for Nevada and its people, who had campaigned against the project since its inception and successfully pushed the $17 billion project onto the list of the world's most worthless megaprojects. Well, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this content, please be sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel so that you can keep getting more content just like this. It helps us out a great amount and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much and have a great day.